thank you for taking the time out to do this podcast.
Okay.
Like you said, thank God for half terms. Teachers can actually do stuff.
100%. Yeah.
Got a bit of man flu, so hopefully it doesn't ruin the podcast. But I didn't.
I'm half asleep.
You're half asleep. Yeah. You've had no sleep because of the kids.
Got a coffee though.
You got a coffee.
Yeah.
They are.
Standard teachers' equipment.
So for those that don't know yourself, obviously you're my brother-in-law. I know you really well compared to most people. But do you want to kind of sound it off with what you do at the minute as regards to work and stuff? Obviously, it's the classroom talk podcast. So, it's all things teachers, education and whatnot, but everyone's going to be wondering what yourself does. So I guess that's the best place to hit it off.
Yeah, of course. Obviously teaching. I teach maths. Maths is my subject. Been in secondary for, 5 years now from teaching. So, I'm also a KS3 Lead at my school currently. So that's a new bit of excitement for me this year. It's all going really well.
Okay, great stuff. Maths teacher.
Maths.
This is going to be good.
My subject. Yeah. 50-50. Some people fear it, some people like it.
That's it. There we go. I think it'd be really great if we kind of started off, I guess, from your journey, really, being a teacher. So for people that don't know, you went down the PGCE route, and, you didn't always want to be a teacher. So I guess for me, I know the story, but what made you want to become a teacher? Why... Yeah, what made that? Where did that mindset come from?
My journey was quite personal for me. Like my family, they foster, so my side of the family fostering, and I don't know. As I was growing up with children that were, growing up themselves, but in somebody else's home, really. And I quite enjoyed just supporting them in my sense of, entertaining them. I was very much an entertainer. And that kind of led me to the role of, I do like working with children. I like being around children, that sense of work. But I went to university and I was working in local bars and pubs. I did all that social side, and that kind of built up my skills without me even noticing, really. And then I finally got the push from my wife, typically, to, right, let's get into teaching. And it wasn't straight away. It wasn't direct. I was a TA. So I was a TA for 2 years. Started teaching computing of all subjects and qualified. So I got straight into the school. That was like my little buy-in, really, because I needed a grade in particular to get to do my skit, as it was. So that's your school-centred initial teacher training. And then with this experience that I got in schools, I could then finally get my skit. So that was just a year. But unfortunately, that was during COVID. So it's a bit like, dreaded C words. But yeah, cut in half. So I did literally half a year teacher training with a PGCE, inputted all the work that I needed to, and then, entered the world of teaching through that.
Okay, so before you wanted to become a teacher, what was your mind? So what did you do at uni?
So it was maths and sport.
Okay.
There was no mind. I was just following what I enjoyed at the time.
Okay.
So through school, it was always maths and sport. And they were always my two subjects. So I didn't know what I wanted to do when I left school. I was like, right, okay, let's go to uni, follow the routes. Went to uni, done maths and sport joint honours, still couldn't pick between them. Then I found a job that I enjoyed when I was at uni, and that was bartending.
Yeah.
And that's my social side that came in.
Okay, so you went to uni to do sports and maths.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, two very different topics.
Yep.
Okay. Did you enjoy doing them? Was it difficult?
Brilliant. Loved them.
Okay.
Loved them, except for, I've got to say, the computing aspect of the mathematics, looking at data, Minitab and MATLAB. We'll never forget.
Not fun.
Coding's not for me. Coding is not for me.
And then you did some work as a TA.
Yeah.
Then just computing and stuff like that. And then what made you go into doing secondary? Obviously, you've got that specialism as maths, but what made you decide that area?
Well, when you're doing your teacher training, you have this experience of being in the primary school. And I knew I wanted secondary before that anyway. I love working with children, especially young children. But secondary for me is, I don't know, I wanted to work with the GCSE level. Like, I've got a great specialism in mathematics. I'm really skilled in that subject.
Just saying.
Yeah. Sorry, don't blow me on trumpet. Apologies. But for me, that I primary school, I'm a bit like, I've got to teach this every day. It's just the basics. And that simple numeracy, I think I find it tedious. I wanted to challenge and stretch myself with the GCSE level.
Okay, so you enjoy advanced maths.
Yes,
Yeah.
Not teaching A level yet, but that's coming in time.
Okay. So what levels do you teach at the minute?
So GCSE, and then I'm Mr. Motivator for year 12. So anybody who's not passed their GCSEs, they come back to me.
Ah, okay. And how is that different from teaching, I guess,
Well,
children to build up to do GCSE and whatever?
Well, they've had 11 years in school. Some of these children have had enough by the time they got to the GCSEs. They're just stretched, and especially if it's maths, it's one of those subjects which some students really find hard to pick up. When they've told they've failed and they've got to do it again to come into our sixth form or another establishment elsewhere to retake maths, it's just something they really don't want to do. So I've got to try and just build the confidence again, hence that Mr. Motivator, and
Mr. Motivator.
get them on the ball, really, with it, get them past.
So do you feel like you've got to get them not just motivated, but also to see the seriousness of passing the maths, maybe?
Yeah, like that aspirational side.
Yeah.
Like some of these children don't have aspirations, and their role models might not have any at home, and it's just think, just got to pass this to do what I want to do. But, the understanding of why we have maths, the importance of it, and just building that up within them, intrinsic.
Okay, so why don't you go down the sports route then?
I'd have loved to have gone down the sports route. Don't tell me now. I'd have loved to have been a sports teacher. Teaching PE was initially something I'd like to do, but it was too competitive. It's really hard to get into. Maths, however, I can get a job wherever I like. It's really sought for, and I don't know. I get a lot more from maths. I feel like I'm making a big difference with mathematics. Yeah.
What's it like when you first became a teacher and you've passed? In fact, let's reel it back a little bit more, actually.
Stressful.
For people that might be thinking about being a teacher. What was it like, going to do a PGCE? Why did you decide to do that rather than, let's say, a BA Hons? I guess you could have done that.
Yeah, I could have got my PGC for university. I did my university route. I didn't get the degree that I wanted.
Yeah.
I spent more time working than actually on my degree at the time.
Yeah.
And I had to pay for that later. I had to redo my PGC year. But that skip route, I would not change it for the world. That experience I gained as a TA, that experience I gained unqualified teaching and then doing my skip, you can't take that away. You build skills as a teacher. You get experience in the classroom.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't change that at all. The actual PGC year itself, that skip year, it was challenging. Luckily, I had a bit of experience behind me already, whereas some students didn't have that. Some of them hadn't yet been in the classroom. So I could take that confidence with me, and that shone. That looked really good on me. But yeah, it was challenging. The pieces we had to do within a year. But yeah, we got by. We did it. We stuck it out.
Yeah.
Then it's changed now. I was an NQT back then. So my NQT year was a single year, 95% of the timetable, straight in teaching. Whereas nowadays you've got your ECT years.
Oh, okay.
It's similar, but you have 2 years of a mentor and being monitored, and the support's there.
Yeah.
Keeps you in teaching.
So do you think it's better to have the 2 years than the 1 year?
It's hard to say. I would say so. I've supported some teachers currently. I've mentored last year, a couple of ECTs. And it is difficult when you first get into an establishment, into the classroom, where students don't know you. You've not got the skills or expertise yet. It is a really hard job.
Yeah.
But that support by you, those little hints, little tips, having the opportunity to observe teachers and be observed yourself for feedback, I would rather have that over 2 years than a single year.
Yeah. Okay. So when you went to take your own class, and you take a secondary as well, I forget sometimes because I'm so old. So when you do secondary, you've got a form as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you forget about teaching.
Yeah.
The pastoral side, forms, especially mine, hard work.
But I guess you get to see and learn about different types of children. Personally, your form, no doubt. You're not teaching them, no doubt. I bet you do some. Yeah. What do they do when I ask citizenship?
Yeah, we do PSHE. That used to be when we were kids back then, citizenship, a long time ago. We do PSHE now, but some schools do it differently. Okay. Some are within forms, some do it as a subject.
Okay.
But you forget, you nailed it earlier when you said that personal aspect.
Yeah.
When I'm teaching in a classroom, mathematics, I don't get that personal side's really hard to find. You're busy teaching, busy supporting, but your form, you get to know your form really well, especially over the years that you have them. Yeah. So that's what I really enjoy.
Do you think children have a lot of pressure in maths? Because I know it's a big subject.
Massive.
Yeah.
There's always been pressure.
Yeah.
I think even more so now. Yeah. It's a subject where there's not enough math teachers. Yeah. There is a lot of cover coming in.
Really?
And, these students aren't getting the education that they deserve, are required to have. Are they going to pass their maths GCSE? Yeah, they should be. But we do have a lot slipping through the net as well.
Yeah.
We've got to try and catch as many as we can.
Yeah.
Hard subject.
And when you see children, let's just say when you first started them, let's reel it back again. I was about to jump in the far end a little bit there, but what's it like having a class for the first time when you first you're fully qualified? This is your year. Do you feel a lot of pressure? You're excited? What's it like that first? You get to walk in the staff room like everybody else, not just an ECT.
It's full of mixed emotions.
Okay.
Everything's there. The pressure's there, the excitement, the nerves, fear, everything. Walk into a staff room where everyone's established, and I'm just there like, okay. But this is a long time ago for me as well. So it's one of those, but it's definitely nervous. It's exciting. And you come out of it thinking, that was a hard day. Yeah. You've come out knowing it's a hard day. You're on overthinking, overload, and you're just trying your best. But you got to take a step back and think why you're there, why you want to be there. Yeah. That helps you through the day.
And do you get paid for PGCE?
You can do, there's different routes.
Okay.
So the skit that I did, there is you get grants. So you can get a grant to be supported. I think it's changed now. Back when I was doing it, I know it was £25,000 for the year. Sometimes 22,000. It varies.
Okay.
Otherwise, I took a salaried route, so I actually got paid through the school itself.
Okay.
So there's two different routes there, but yeah, especially in maths, you get like a little golden handshake afterwards. So there are payments and bursaries to keep that teacher retention as well.
So for people who are thinking about doing teaching, a subject like maths, if you keep your eye out, there's other little bonuses and incentives to do it.
100%.
Okay, so it's not. Yeah, well, why not? Do you know what I mean? You might as well use the system for what it's there for. And it's great. A lot of people, especially when they've got families as well, maybe put off doing teaching because they look at a PGC like an apprenticeship and they're like, well, I've got a family now. I can't afford, even though I've got a degree, that's applicable. Yeah. They may be thinking to themselves, well, I can't go and do PGC because I've got a mortgage and whatnot.
Well, you've got some people that have like an established career already. And they're thinking, why do I want to get into teaching really? Yeah. And there's a huge pay cut initially. You think about the starting salary of a teacher nowadays. It's not enough to maintain that family, that mortgage, those bills. But it's definitely worth looking at these bursaries and things that are in place.
Yeah. But once you become a teacher, I think the positive thing is as well to tell people is when you're hitting targets and stuff like that, there's, unlike many other industries, there's pay scales. Yeah. And not everybody knows that. They know that teachers get extra pay when they get to, see leadership and stuff. But for people that don't know, obviously you're aware because you're a teacher. Yeah. There's pay scales there. So when you hit targets and stuff like that, there's gradings, isn't there?
Yes. Yeah. So you go with the pay scale. And obviously in some subjects it might be easier than others. Depends what your establishment's like, your school, your line leader, your management. But you kind of agree those targets at the start of the year. And if you are meeting them, like I say, you go up the scale and there's loads of opportunities because you've got your basic scale, but then there's an upper pay scale for, additional roles. And then you can go into your senior lead teams and then it just climbs up. So yeah, it depends what you want. Yeah. But it's definitely something to look into.
Okay. There's one for you. Why do you like teaching?
Well, for me,
depends which day I'm asking you.
That's it, exactly. I think about all the negatives that are there, but the positives are huge for me. Dealing with teenagers is hard enough. Yeah. But if you come, have your reflection at the end of the day, thinking why you're doing this. And I've seen students have the worst days. They're coming into school having the worst morning, but then, you can change that. Yeah. Every time we do GCSE results and you look at these year 11s that are getting churned through, some of them are really excelling and being so aspirational with their targets and they're hitting these targets. There's wins every day. But yeah, if you can make a child's day, that's made mine.
With maths.
With maths. With maths. And we forget, maths is a challenging topic.
Yeah.
I don't know, but for me, you wouldn't see me teaching English.
No, exactly. You know what I mean? You enjoy it and you try and pass that on to the kids, no doubt, children and whatnot. So how do you motivate the children to do such every subject's important, but how do you find yourself motivating children in your subject?
Yeah, there's different ways you can approach it. Okay. I'm very much, my skill set, my strength would be my relationship side. So once you've got to know the children, you could talk about Is that right?
Yeah.
You could talk about, how their day's going, what they've done on the weekends, a little bit about my life. I could tell them about my family, my dog, and they're like little buy-ins. But if you build that relationship up with a student, they'll tend to work for you.
Yeah.
You instill that motivation in them, thinking, "Oh, I want to work for this teacher."
Yeah.
And you build that culture in the classroom.
Yeah.
They want to come to your lesson, and when they want to come to your lesson, they're going to learn.
Yeah.
And they'll take more away from it.
So you think relationships are really important?
Huge, especially nowadays. We have such huge issues with social media and phones, which such hot topics lately.
Yeah.
But to pull them away from them and actually communicate and interact with each other in the classroom, and you as a teacher, some of these students don't like looking up to someone who's quite authoritative.
Yeah.
But for me, if you can get down on their level, speak to them in a respectful way, you're more than likely to get it back.
What effect do you think social media is having on kids these days?
Well, you've got some students that are spending up to 6 hours a day on social media, let alone having 6 hours in school.
Yeah.
So it's huge. We're taking away their social skills with these apps and social media, and they're all good at communicating online with the slang, but can they come into a professional workplace and not use slang? It's challenging. They are expecting quick wins. They're expecting to be pleased all the time, and when they're not pleased, they're upset, and you know about it.
Yeah.
Because they find it hard to regulate.
Yeah, I guess because there's a lack of social interactions, isn't there?
Yeah.
So therefore that leads to you not being able to regulate your emotions because you've not had them interactions.
And now imagine 30 of them in one classroom.
No thanks. No,
secondary. And you got the hormones with it as well.
Yeah.
Teenagers.
Yeah. No. So have you got any funny stories with the obviously past students from probably
not
back
really
in the day, or
not funny stories as such, but I've definitely got good memories. There's a couple of students that I've really been fond of over time, and you teaching things such as trigonometry. Trigonometry, sir, what is that? And when am I ever going to use this in life? But we made it personal to them, and we have little twangs and things how we say it. And one of my students who's passed recently, he was targeted at grade 6, and we'd always have banter in the classroom. He'd wind me up, I'd wind him up. He came up with a grade 8 in the end. So he really succeeded in the subject, and I think that's because of his little binds. But we'd look at soccer tour, and he'd always come to me and go at the front door, soccer tour today, sir, soccer tour. I'm like, what? Yeah, okay, soccer tour today. But yeah, I'll always remember him. He was a good lad.
So do you think that...
Not so much a funny story.
No, it's not a funny story, but it's kind of a relationship you built with a particular child, as you do with as many as you can as possible, that because he probably had a laugh with yourself, he came to maths because he enjoyed it. You had to come, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But he came with it with a mindset.
They want to come.
They want to come.
They want to come. You've got to change that from I have to come to I want to come. Change that mindset.
Yeah. Do you think that teachers should be told to engage with them a little bit more, be a bit more... Vulnerable is not the word I'm looking for. The word I'm looking for is, like you just said, a bit more banterous, because rather than be that old school strict teacher, what's your style?
It's hard. Like, my style is relaxed, but then I can be stern when I need to be. You've got to have that balance, and you've got different people in different roles. Heads of year have to have that professional, this is where I stand. You can't cross the line. Whereas myself in the classroom, I could have that with some of my students. It's okay. I ensure that they all work for me. We all remain professional still. No one gets hurt or harmed. But if you can just have a little bit more of a relaxed classroom, I think that really works for my students nowadays. But it depends on your personality and your style of teaching. Yeah, every teacher's different.
And obviously the situations that you find yourself in, you've got to adapt to that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, if I've got someone with a huge concern, safeguarding concern, come to my classroom, I'm not going to start having banter with them.
No.
So you have to use your discretion. Yeah. You know when to use it, and you gain that over time. You can't go to a new class and then start being sarcastic with the students, and you might accidentally insult somebody.
You don't know them.
Yeah, it doesn't work, unfortunately. You're going to get backlash. Yeah. So you have to be careful with that. You have to get to know students very much first.
Yeah. Before you can, you know the level with each.
More relaxed time.
You know as a person. They're getting to know you. You're getting to know them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just understanding where the boundaries are.
So, what advice would you give to someone who's just started as a teacher?
Keep pushing.
Keep pushing.
Keep pushing, because that first lesson is going to be challenging. Those first few lessons might actually go really well because you're in the right frame of mind for it. I'm here to teach. I'm here to do my best to get these students in a place of mind, like a good place of mind. But once you start getting tired, you're probably looking at second or third week, especially into term. You start to get tired. The kids see that as well. The students are then seeing, right, okay, we've got free reins here. You've got to be careful. If you are remaining, calm and you're remaining consistent and firm with these students, you'll be fine. But we all get tired. We're all human. Everyone makes mistakes, and that's normal. But just gotta stay positive. Start each day fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's a good one to ask. I like to ask secondary teachers all the time: is what's your behaviour management technique? Because obviously you're going to get it in a secondary school. They're going to have the odd day where they're going to push your buttons. I've heard some interesting stories, let's say, over the years. But what's your technique and how to approach that?
Mine changes. My top's at year 11 to my challenging year 8 class. There's 2 different ways you go about it. And, there's many ways. There's no right. Unfortunately, it comes from expertise and skills. I can walk into my classroom and feel confident, whereas others won't have that. But personally for me, it's, I've got a good vocal voice. I can project. I can get everyone's eyes on me. I can circulate the room. Engaging work's really important. Have you got something they can access? Is your class a top set? They're going to be working hard. Or is it a nurture group? Is it, bottom set year 8 till 9 and they need motivating? So definitely engaging work. But there's a huge multitude of skills that you need. Yeah, there's no one way to do it.
Okay, fair enough. And how do you make maths fun? I know you think you're funny. I know all teachers think they're funny. You're going to say that one. I know you're going to say that. Bring humour into it. But, how do you motivate them to do maths and stuff like that? Do you teach it any differently or what? I don't know.
There's different ways you can do it. That engaging work, make it realistic. You could talk about driving a car. You could talk about money, especially with students nowadays. Talk about money and clothing. They're all in. Sir, let's talk about money today. Okay, yeah. What do you like? Talk about anything. Find their interests. You find their interests, they'll buy in.
That's a big one.
Personalising worksheets is huge as well, especially for lower sets.
Okay.
If you could personalise a worksheet to them, chuck some of their names in, some of their class, someone like Simpsons, put Simpsons character on. Someone like, little things, little wins.
Yeah.
Oh, sir, look. Make it personal.
Yeah.
Make it personal for them. They'll want to work.
Okay. So a top tip then, I guess, for work, maths work. Let's say you're a maths teacher, you're struggling to make it interesting. What's your advice?
Simple but sweet.
Okay.
Simple but sweet. Don't overstretch students, especially nowadays. If you overstretch them, they haven't got the tenacity to keep moving forward. They'll just stop. Once one stops, you've got 5 stopping. And then before you know it, you've got an upset class. So just make sure it's simple but sweet, I'd say. You start with this, and then you can build in something a little bit more challenging. But definitely start simple and sweet. Yeah. That's my set.
Okay, fair enough. And when you first started teaching, how was it to balance everything? Like family, work, the pressure. How was that for people who may not understand what teachers go? They just think you have 13 weeks off a year, you finish at 3:30.
Sounds dandy, doesn't it? Love that. I wish I could finish at 3:15 as well. Not a chance. Students go back at 3:15, they go home, but your work don't stop. I think initially it's really hard work. I will always remember those first couple of years. You are busy creating resources, you are finding resources, you are, the planning and the workload is huge, let alone picking up all the systems and procedures within the school, behaviour policies, calling home to parents, having those, conversations with students, detentions, behaviour management, so much. It's not just one job. Yeah. You've got the pastoral side, you're like a social worker for some of these students, and you have to, that doesn't stop at 3:15. Yeah. You have to take that time. But balancing that, I had a young girl at the time. When I first started getting into teaching, she'd have been 1 or 2. Really hard to balance. You've got to be, going home with a smile on your face, like you've had the best day, and, have that motivation at home and at work. And you find it hard to have that break, but then that's my circumstance. Everyone's got so many different circumstances, but you've got to find that motivation for you. And, you've got to find something that'll help you stop thinking. Okay. At the same time, yeah. Okay.
How important? So when you say to stop thinking, so I guess is that for both? Because you're like a train like this, isn't it? You've got the stresses of life, the stresses of work, stresses of life, stresses of work. And if you're not careful, it can steamroll into something, I always find anyway, you know, if we just talk about work and life, how do you find yourself regulating that?
Well, it was football. I needed football. That was my go-to. I'd finish work on a Wednesday, football. Finish work on a Friday, football. Sunday, football. So I had it regularly throughout the week.
Yeah.
And I needed that. I know I needed that. But that was my burn off. I know some people won't be into that, but you've got to find your go-to, your something. That's a complete break. Whether that's to go out and socialise with different people, not just your family, but with different people. Whether that's to, you know, your hobbies, your interests. You've got to find something to have that complete break away from work and family, because you will burn out. Especially in this first couple of years, they are the most challenging years. Anybody will say that as well.
Yeah,
100%.
You got to be able to switch off from life and work, not just immerse yourself too much. I mean, I know you want to give everything, but if you give everything, there's nothing left.
That's it. You've got to look after number one first. If you look after yourself, then you can start looking after others. And it really is a job where you have to look after others. You know, the students that you will see through your day, you are constantly giving. So you have to take at some point, and you need that break.
Yeah. How important is teamwork in a school?
Huge, especially for me. Maths is I'm fortunate to be in a large department. So, you know, got head of department, second department, you know, I'm KS3 Lead. We can all support each other. But if I'm in a subject such as music or drama, you tend to be on your own.
Really?
But, you know, you're still in a team. Humanities, for instance, you've got geography, history and RE, but they'll be their own team. But you do rely on each other at times, because you can't be 100% every day. And the more you give, the more you get out of it together. So for me this year, I've tried to give as much as I can. I tend to. I like to work to, you know, make sure as a department we're successful within the school. Yeah. You can't do it by yourself. You're only as good as the teacher next door. I think you tend to hear that very often when you start teaching. So that's one of our little sayings we use.
Okay. And would you say school's a community?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes, huge. You know, I'm based in the city centre, and you know, the array of kids that we have coming into our establishment, they've all got different backgrounds, but they should be leaving our school with, you know, their badge on, representing our school. Are they doing things in the community to support the community? Hopefully so, but not all of them. But we are our own little community. You know, we've got the staff, we've got the students of all years as well. You know, year 7s tend to stick together, year 8s, but they'll all have their own cultures and ways of working and being themselves.
Okay. You spoke about COVID earlier. I try not to talk about it anymore.
Been and gone.
But do you think that's really affected maths itself? Let's talk about maths. Like, you know, let's say the past few years, have the children, no offence to the primary teachers, of course, they do the very best, as all teachers do. But all teachers I speak to now, I say they're starting to see the effects of some of the children from where they should be compared to where they are, especially not even talking academically, emotionally. You know, I think, you know, I don't speak to anywhere near as many secondary teachers as I do primary. 1 second, sorry. I can edit this bit out.
That's all right.
But what I do get told is that a lot of the children mentally aren't in the same mind frame as what you'd expect them to be.
Like they're age-related.
Age-related, they seem a little bit behind. But do you feel that in secondary schools a little bit, or did you before, or not now? Or
it's definitely up and down. Like COVID for me at the time.
Yeah, it was COVID,
It was almost wonderful for me, looking in hindsight, because I got to stay at home and I was with my daughter.
Yeah.
You know, she was a toddler, and I had that, seeing her growing up. And I like to think I was in a nice household, but some of these students are not in, you know, they find it hard at home, you know, especially if it's 4, 5, 6 siblings that we might have in city centres, and, you know, in small houses, and they're all stuck inside, can't get out, can't vent. But I know that would have had some impact on some of our students. Being out of school, you know, currently we're looking at some of the gaps with our early years, Key Stage 3, year 7 and 8 in particular. And, you know, we're looking at topics thinking, why are they struggling with this topic currently? Oh, it's because they missed reading a clock in year 3. So year 3 and year 4, you know, reading time. Yeah. Some of these students would have completely missed that.
No way.
And, you know, primary school's playing catch up over a year and a half, 2 years before SATs. You know, it's a lot of pressure, and you can't squeeze it all in. So there's definitely gaps in some of our students. academically, then, like I say, emotionally, that resilience. You know, when they're stuck at home for a year, what they've been doing?
Yeah.
They've not been socialising. They've been, you know, stuck on, you know, some platform such as a phone or tablet or something. So,
how are you combating things like vaping in schools?
well, there's no smoking. No smoking.
Yeah.
So smoking's completely gone. Vapes, still, we are constantly challenging vapes. We have a lot of, you know, campaigns in school, anti-vaping, as all schools
Education.
are.
Yeah.
Education, yeah. We've, you know, got to relay how important it is to stay away from them. They're not safe. You know, you just got to be mindful. Bag searches happen often in my school, so making sure they are being checked. If there's any reports of them, they get searched, they get confiscated, and parents get pulled in. There are repercussions to it. You make sure there's repercussions to it there. It's a big one.
What advice have you got to, let's say, other teachers in your mind? Because, you know, you love what you do, but managing your time and the pressures of the workload and stuff like that, how do you manage it?
Well, I tell myself that I'm going to go to the gym, and it rarely happens. I'm like, oh dear, 3:10, get my work done by 4, go to the gym for half an hour. And it definitely doesn't happen like that all the time. It depends on your day. But if you manage your time well, you are looking at having your to-do list very clear, having realistic expectations that you are not going to get that to-do list on every day. You just tick off things as you go, as often as you can. And well, there's different aspects. Some teachers don't take anything home. They'll complete all the work and they go home, not thinking about work. Others, they cut off at, say, 4 o'clock, they go home, they might do a little bit in the evening. And everybody's different. You find your own balance. And once you find your balance, you'll have a good routine. So routines are important, definitely.